Welcome. This is ActiveSpirituality.life. It is a weekly forecast program with astrology and a guided meditation activation to help you make the most of your week. It's run by Pamela Cucinell, that's me, the astrologer, and Suzy Meszoly, Master Healer. We invite you to find out more about our individual work. Suzy Meszoly, SuzyMeszoly-healer.com, or insightoasis.com for astrology. You can also find both of us at ActiveSpirituality.life, and we look forward to your joining us every week. Please share with your friends. Here we go.
Welcome everybody to week 4 already, week 4 of 2021. And we are so excited to be sharing with you again this year our forecast and meditation. Thank you for joining us. January the 25th, Monday, is where our fabulous, trusted astrologer Pam Cucinell is going to start the week. She's going to go through the 7 days, and then I will be back with our 10-minute meditation. Pam, week 4, 2021. What's in store for us?
What's in store? Well, we're moving on. We're moving on from some very challenging transits which happened last week, and I will continue to talk as we go week to week about how the year unfolds in these kind of snapshot views of the week. If you want the overview, go to my website, insightoasis.com, where there's an analysis of 2021 and the overall arc and what to expect. But on the 25th, Monday morning, the moon is in the sign of Gemini, void of course. Now, the times I give on this recording are all Eastern time, so please adjust depending on where you are on the planet. So when the moon is void of course, generally we recommend you don't initiate anything, sign no contracts, make no agreements, because basically what's going on is the moon indicates the emotional weather. So unless it's making some sort of direct connection to your horoscope, the odds are that nothing's really going to stick. And so there are examples where things go well or go off as planned or as anticipated or what you wanted directed when the moon is void of course, because that moon was falling somewhere on your horoscope, let's say the ascendant rising sign, so that you were able to engage with it in a way that reflected your intention, which other people see and react to. But in general, when the moon is void, what we suggest is that you do things that are already in motion, that you finish things up, that you clear the decks, that you organize, that you purge clutter or things that it's time to put to bed or to rest. Because what's happening is we're about to move into another energetic cycle, and that happens as of 1:52 p.m. And at that point in time, the moon enters Cancer. So Gemini it's air, it's what we call mutable. There can be a lot of distractions. Think about emails, texts, like information coming in, and you don't know where to land. That's what can be energetically happening that morning. Whereas if you plan to just stay on a certain course, you're not going to be as distracted. Once the moon enters the sign of Cancer, the energy is different. It's water cardinal. So cardinal energy is what starts things. And this is actually an interesting couple of days when the moon is in the sign of Cancer, because we are being forced in a way to engage with emotional territory that we may not usually want, broker, or choose to enter. And so it can be a challenging couple of days as the moon is in Cancer this particular time. But the biggest challenge is when we avoid the shadow energy. And shadow energy is, it's looming in today's world because so many of us, and I will raise my hand, guilty as charged, so many of us are projecting out onto others right now. It's like it's your fault, they're the problem, this situation wouldn't happen without blah, blah. And it behooves us all, regardless of how we sit on different issues, to really reflect on our part on it, where we're culpable, where we defer blame rather than take responsibility. And this is not easy territory for any human being. I mean, we don't like to do it. It's simple. I mean, who wants to look in the mirror and say to herself, I should have done that differently. Why did I say that? How am I involved in making this situation worse than it might be? And so it's difficult to look at things with crystal clarity. And with the moon in Cancer, there's a lot of potential for shame, for feeling victimized, for feeling hurt, for responding in grief. And these reactions, although we don't like going through them, actually can ferry us to a place of greater wisdom, greater clarity, greater objectivity, greater courage, greater self-knowledge. So if Monday afternoon, evening feels like a difficult day for you, or for someone who you love, who you see how they're reacting, or a coworker, or someone you're trying to deal with, and everything seems to be personal, or you can't get traction in the conversation, it's valuable to look at how you might turn that situation in a different direction. So anyone who's ever done any work in especially relationship knows that most of us just keep repeating the same pattern. He says that, I say this. He says this, I say that. And we expect different responses when we're doing the same darn thing. And so Monday afternoon, evening, and Tuesday are excellent days for us to turn the wheel of understanding. And it starts within, always. It starts within. Earlier today, I was talking to a gal about the ancient Greek statement that was on the top of all the temples of Apollo, which says, know thyself. And basically that is, the ancient Greeks knew it, not that they followed or were perfect in their society in ways, but it comes down to really facing the emotional well that can be very uncomfortable for us to swim in. And that is brought up heavily on later day on Monday and on Tuesday. Now, constructive ways to use this is to, regardless of what you're doing, whether it's work, whether it's family relationship, whether it's self-work, is to just be as present and aware as you possibly can, especially when difficult feelings come up, because I would actually bet that most of us are going to encounter some sort of uncomfortable feelings on these days, just by nature of how the celestial pictures all look. That doesn't mean we can't have moments of inspiration and really get a sense of aha, but we have to be willing to keep moving through it. Tuesday, there is a Sun-Uranus picture in the sky, and this is very, very electric energy. It happens in the early morning. If you're out and about, driving, walking, however you perambulate, pay attention to where you are, because we can get this like epiphany, like, wow, like a thunderbolt, just revelation happening. But if you're not paying attention where you are in space, it can have consequences. So we want to be alert to the revelation, to the information that may come through, but we also want to be present in our bodies so that we are safe in the space that we walk. And once we get into this day, it should feel better or easier than the day before felt. That's kind of the real emotional upheaval day, January in the PM, January 25th, rather, in the PM. And the day of the 26th can have more of an elated kind of, hey, I'm moving, things are happening, I'm getting a handle on this situation, we're talking, I don't feel as emotionally hung over, yay, yay, yay. So use that dynamic so that you're able to really ferry through it, get to know it, swim the deep waters, because when we get to Wednesday, the 27th, the morning can feel unsettled again, especially if you're a person with a strong Venus moon configuration that's a challenge. You can feel as though your needs aren't getting met, that you don't receive what it is that you really need in this lifetime. And so once again, the important thing is to use this as medicine so that you understand where the feelings come from. And that will give you the power within to move through this in a way where you can actually transform it. Very, very powerful couple of days. The moon is void, of course, at 12:55 p.m., at which time, this, as we lead up to midday, early afternoon, this may be the biggest power struggle, impasse that we have to pass through, either engage with another person, authority figure, power source, or actually within yourself. And then the moon enters Leo at 9:54 p.m. So that afternoon, I would say, if there's ways that you can do self-healing, swim, take a bath, sauna, therapeutic work, all really excellent for just discharging toxins and moving through things that may have felt very heavy. You want to move this heavy energy. Drink a lot of water, things that have high electrolyte content, so that you can refresh and recharge your system. Once the moon has entered the sign of Leo, then we're in a different dynamic, fixed fire, that's creative. So some of us may stay up later than we really want to, or if we're night owls, we're enjoying that. But what we want to look at is Thursday, the 28th, which has this moon in Leo engaged with, like, activating. It clicks along. It has confrontations, which may not feel that easy, kind of electric shock energy in the morning. But when we move through it, we can really use it as a power source, an energy conduit. One thing to mention is that there's a Venus-Pluto conjunction in late morning. And so if you feel obsessed or totally passionate about something, Wednesday into Thursday morning, be sure you really are like your eyes are open and you understand why you have this commitment, drive, dedication. Because sometimes Venus Pluto, especially if it's actually hitting a point in your chart, your horoscope, it can kind of draw us in to something with this sort of Svengali attraction, which we may not be conscious of why we feel so enfervored and committed to it. And if you know why you are, and you're actually it's dovetailing or it's working with something you really are passionate about and believe in, then go for it. But be aware you can also be swept into something that isn't necessarily yours, and that's why it's important to be able to sift through and understand if you feel that undertow, that pull that's making you engage with something. Do you really want to have that argument? Do you really want to make that declaration? Is it really that important to you? Is it really you? Or are you being overtaken by something that isn't really your truth? Then as the day goes on, we can continue to separate and understand if perhaps we were swept into something that wasn't really ours. And so we can sift and understand what it is what engaged us and why. And if it was ours, we can still sift and understand so that we get greater clarity so that we can really define this passion in a way that can engage others. Now, Thursday, the 28th, is Sun conjunct Jupiter. And so a lot of astrologers consider this one of the most lucky days of the year because the Sun is conjunct Jupiter. And Jupiter is the great benefic. It expands everything around it. Again, this may or may not be true. You've got to look at your personal horoscope and see, is this really something that's engaging with what you want? And is this something you really want to expand, whatever it may be? On Friday the 29th, hold on. On Friday the 29th, the moon is still in the sign of Leo, and it goes void, of course, at 8:53 p.m. And the most important thing to mention on this day is be clear about what you say, to whom you say it, and why you say it, because we will all be accountable to what we say and why we say it on this particular day. The moon goes void, of course, at 8:53 p.m., and it doesn't enter the sign of Virgo until 3:02 a.m. the next day, Saturday. Once the moon is in the sign of Virgo, I'm looking at Saturday and Sunday, and I'm looking at excellent, excellent days for getting the work done, getting the message out, doing service, feeling like you're able to follow through and make real what it is you want to engage in and put your intention in. So learn and observe throughout most of the week, and over the weekend we can really bring it down to earth and help turn around or go the direction in which we intend. And now I turn it over to Suzy.
Pam, which is the luckiest day of the year?
Well, it depends on the astrologer, but some would say January 28th, which also has a full moon in Leo. I personally would say it's a very challenging day. So it can be lucky. You just really want to make your luck and have your eyes wide open about the opportunities you engage in.
Make your luck.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes.
What does make your luck mean?
Oh, make your luck. You've never heard me say that? I that's kind of a phrase I refer to a lot. Make your luck is that, okay, let's say one of the things astrologers look at is if somebody's born with Sun Jupiter, which is what I just referred to, like my brother, he's considered to be a lucky person. But I would also say that my brother has a tendency to make his luck because he's very charming. And even though he's got a dry wit, which sometimes can sound a little disparaging, people love him. So that's one reason I think he makes his luck. He gets opportunities, things happen for him because he genuinely connects to people. So he makes his luck. He's not really conscious of it. He just does it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So being open, I think, is one thing too, right?
Yeah, being open, but you also have to be open to the opportunities that are really going to be advantageous to you.
Right.
We can be open and fall into a trap.
Right. Be open with intelligence.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Let's go into our meditation. I invite everybody to take 10 minutes to turbo boost with us. Sit in a place of peace and quiet. Close your eyes. Settle in. And as you take a few deeper breaths, let's perhaps sharpen our clarity, sharpen our awareness, sharpen our abilities, the discernment. Just like we sharpen a pencil that is blunt or broken, we put it against the blade and we sharpen it to a point. So just feel yourself in that space of, we could almost say, an intention to become more clear, more aware, more focused, and more intelligent, more wise, where we use the information that we may have learned, the information that we might intuit, the information that is constantly given to us by all of the interconnected universe, as we feel ourselves literally just tapping into the universal wisdom, tapping into the universal goodness as we ride the waves of the celestials. It's all energy, it's all frequency, electromagnetic energy, all types of different forms of communication that we, like a giant receiver, we are transmitters and receivers, but we're like a giant antenna, and we're always receiving information from the world around us. Well, from our own body, number one, from our own world, but then from the world around us. And we are receiving that information through the filter or through the lens of our experience in this incarnation, which is also highly influenced by information from other lives, from other incarnations. So at the moment, we have a particular mindset. We have a particular way of seeing the world. We have a particular way of being in the world. The shape of our body, the shape of our emotions, the shape of our mind. This is the lens. And then that lens will interpret, if it's open to it, will interpret the information that is coming from the universe. Some of it is very automatic. Some of it is very ritualistic. Just notice how open you are to receiving information from the universe, from outside of you. And that could be simply the news on the television, the news on your phone. It could be the energy of the people around you. It could also be the chemicals from the cleaning products you're using. It could be energy from the trees in your backyard. It could be energy from the volcano erupting thousands of miles from where you live. Or it could be the frequencies reaching you from the celestial bodies that are constantly having an interaction with us on this earth. So we are sitting within this web, a giant web, not just of life, of things that are also not living, but everything around us, from the planets far and far, far away from the earth, the sun, to the people, and to the various things on our planet that are miles away from us or right up close to us. We are all sitting in this web together, creating the web and experiencing the web. Just like the tiny little fluctuations that we can feel in that little string, the string of the web. And some of us are overwhelmed by all of the frequencies, by all of the vibrations. And so naturally, as human beings, we will create the edited version. We will curate what experiences we would like to have, just as we choose what information to come in, just as we choose what book to read, what people to talk to, what food to eat, what country to travel to. We are constantly curating, selecting our experience, selecting how much we can experience. So as we just ponder on this and as we feel the energy of choice, the energy of the lens, the energy of the filter, do a little tweaking, a little editing, change perhaps the energy grammar here or there, and allow yourself to curate your human experience so that it is all obviously one of greatness, one that is benefiting yourself and others, But see if you can tweak it now so that you are stepping into that higher octave of intelligence, of wisdom, of focus, of clarity. Higher octave of spiritual understanding. Whatever needs to be improved, expanded, make some space, literally. Just visualize a few cupboards now in your brain that you're making some space to let in more wisdom, more pattern recognition, more compassion, more understanding. Making more space for expansion. And set the intention of allowing things to change. That I am open to change. That change is everything. That impermanence is the one thing we can be absolutely sure of. That things are constantly changing. So we allow for the changes with grace, with understanding, with compassion. Knowing that we, me, this consciousness, as well as the consciousness of all the beings around me, is never ending, has no beginning, has no end, is boundless, is constantly perhaps changing form, is flexible, but that we are eternal forms of energy. And as we grow, as we expand, we remember this, and anything that we are afraid of, we allow it to be our teacher. And as we gently take a few deeper breaths and open our eyes, we welcome choice for ourselves and for all beings everywhere. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. And we look forward to being with you next week. Thanks so much, Pam.
You have been listening to Suzy Meszoly and Pamela Cucinell of ActiveSpirituality.life. If you've enjoyed this program, consider a donation. You can find the link for that, ActiveSpirituality.life. Regardless, we look forward to having you join us again for next week's podcast. Please share and have a great week.